note out this morning. Neal Dingmann from Wunderlich Securities, he's an analyst there, says that the BP oil spill continues to pressure the offshore companies, as John was just talking about. He says the group will underperform onshore drillers for at least the next few months. Also with me here, of course, is Adam Johnson throughout the show, as well as Lizzie O'Leary down in Port Fourchon, Louisiana. And Neal, we were actually just talking about that with our prior guest, Ted Harper, saying that there's this sort of a separation out between onshore and offshore. But give us the numbers, though. I mean, what does this mean in terms of cash flow, earnings for these guys? Right.
I mean, we've definitely already seen the magnitude. When you look, number one, just at the stocks, we've seen probably the downside, probably 3 times worse on the offshore group. So when you talk cash flow, because their cash flow is so quick,
right,
you're probably talking a very quick cash flow. Rather than maybe do $1 or $2 this year, you could see something like maybe half to that. Maybe I don't want to say a third,
right,
but somewhere around 75 to 50% is very possible this year because of that cash flow is likely to cut off quick.
So they got more expensive by doing nothing, just because they got less cash coming through.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, when I'm valuing anything, you're obviously looking at the price times the cash flow, and you're valuing both sides. And if the cash flow is dropping this quickly, absolutely, Adam, that's exactly right.
Neal, is there any value for these offshore drillers who are already in the Gulf to pull out at this point? Can they or not?
There's going to be some. Somebody was asking this morning that we could see, are we going to see in other areas softening of the prices? And I think that's likely. Could we see with Petrobras or somewhere in Brazil or West Africa or somewhere else? Very possible. We saw this probably a year to 2 years ago when the Gulf got soft, not for this reason, obviously, but we saw a lot of the supply boats, a lot of the rigs move at that time, soften the other market. I guess the question is going to be now, do we see that?
Right. Lizzie?
Neal, it's Lizzie in Louisiana. I want to jump in here. If we see this moratorium go farther here, the sense I've gotten from people I've talked to on the ground is there might be less of an effect on the big companies who have leases elsewhere, who have leases, say, in Africa, but that the medium-sized drillers could really be squeezed here. Are you watching them at all?
Absolutely, Liz. I mean, that's a great point. Not only to me would it be just the medium drillers, but some of the medium E&P companies that are there. You look at both, as you said, all of them can. The large ones can diversify, maybe go some of these other international regions, but some of these, what I call even the medium to large independents, whether it's an oil service as a driller, as you said, or an E&P, you don't have that many options, and so you've got to do something now. If those leases or if you're suspended, you're out of luck for now.
Yeah. Neal, following from that, though, and I know you don't cover BP, the company itself, but the other offshore drillers, you've got to imagine, though, seeing what's happened to this company, are people now starting to value the assets of BP?
They are. I mean, you obviously with BP, you have, I don't want to say the collective, but you have the upstream, you have the downstream, midstream, and so there's even talk of maybe they need to separate and break off the upstream.
Like a good bank, bad bank.
Exactly. Great point, Adam. Where obviously if the liabilities are going to be in one side, maybe try to isolate that area. And that's, I think, something to look at. Could a Transocean or Halliburton do something like that? Very difficult, but BP may consider that.
And overall, Neal, I mean, how much do you, in your estimation, is this going to cost? Not just BP, but increased safety, longer delays with regulation. What is the actual number cost?
That's what now the numbers are just staggering. When you look and you've seen different spills, different hurricanes in the past, it seems like what sort of first blush, the number ends up being magnitude more of that, 2-3 times more.
Right.
This morning they're saying the number for BP now is nearly $1 billion, 990 million, I guess, is the number I'd heard.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if you look at that just for BP, you start adding Transocean, Halliburton, some of these others, could the number hit $2-3 billion very easily?
Right. It's definitely not out of the question.
Not at all.